Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, Team USA is the gold medal champion at the Paris Olympics as Devin Booker and Kevin Durant help close it out. Really a show by Steph Curry. We'll talk through all the biggest moments of the game, what it means for the two Suns stars, and where things go next for Team USA coming up next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we're back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Brendon Kleen, your host and a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 7 seasons. Welcome to the show. Thank you for making us your first listen right after the gold medal game as Team USA emerges victorious. Hit follow or subscribe if you have not already. We are free and available everywhere, including YouTube, so just hit that button, get a new episode in your feed every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the rest of August, back to daily in September. Get locked onto the Phoenix Suns each and every day. Become an everydayer here with the show. Joining us as he does every single, we're doing this up on Saturday night. Brandon's here every week. He's a writer at Bright Side of the Sun, and he joins us most of the time on Mondays. We'll get to the legacy, we'll get to the Suns side of it, but I feel like it would be insulting to Steph Curry, Brandon, to start anywhere but with him in this 98-87 win that he closed out in Paris over the home team in France to take home a gold medal. His first, and we'll get to it, but Durant's fourth, Booker's second, and the team in general, 5 in a row, I believe it is. What did you think of how that all closed out?
First of all, night. I just did I never emote on the show, but for those watching visually, I just did it. Quick little night. Like, Chef Curry is just, there's no words for that. Like, that performance is one of those things that we'll look back on 10 years from now when they're making that documentary. There's going to be certain flashes where that fourth quarter versus Serbia as a collective unit, and then I think that those final few minutes with Steph just taking over and going nuclear, it just felt like it was Game 7 of the finals. Like, it felt like I haven't felt that way about basketball in a long time. So I think it was just It was refreshing, like, as a fan, just to see the three legends all kind of pair up and have their moments separately, and also have two of those guys in the closing lineup again. Being on the Suns, it just makes it pretty special. But I can't say enough things about how Steph played. Like, that was just it felt like time froze each time he released that shot, and it just splashed in. It was great.
I'm not sure if I've felt like that since he last made me feel like that in Game 4 of his last championship, right? Like, there is just something different about it when it's him. And obviously the past couple of years, Jokic is great, but it's just not quite the same. And last year the Celtics run was kind of boring, and so it's something different, and it puts to bed, no pun intended, but we'll use it anyway. Like, it just, the 2022 championship and this, to me, just cement, regardless of how great his teammates might be, who his teammates might be, what style or format the game is being played in, Steph Curry can do his thing and is one of the best of all time to do it. But, I was just sitting there. My dog's getting, frightened of me because I'm making a fool of myself in my living room, and he's wondering what the hell is going on. And, I really was just thinking, obviously all of us in Phoenix hope and believe that Kevin Durant has one more incredible run in him at least. I'm not trying to say that's not going to happen, but these guys are in their mid-30s or in LeBron's case, almost hitting that next decade mark. I just didn't know if we'd ever have moments like this from any of these three dudes again, and how many of them we've gotten this week alone, all of them on the court together. I don't think any of us who got to watch this are going to forget it ever. It was that special, and we talked, I think, at one point, maybe after the first game, Brandon, or at some point where I was like, I am not ever going to argue again that it's not fun to root for a front runner. But it is so much better when it is close. And so the fact that they got tested makes this even sweeter, I think, where it wasn't just blowouts and garbage time and everything. Like, these guys really had to bring it, and they did.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think anytime it's a little bit, there's some adversity in a game or a chance for a team to come back and like they cut it down to 3 at one point, and like it really felt like, you know, life was on the line. Like it was just like one of those moments where it was just like do or die time. I'm glad it came down to that from, I think, just a basketball perspective. It makes it more entertaining, especially it's easier to say that now that's over and they won. But just as a neutral basketball fan, like anytime a game goes down the wire like that, it's a lot more fun. And also being the heavy favorites, you know, obviously it was in France. It was like a home game for them that adds to the fuel. So I think the rest of the world was definitely cheering for the USA's downfall as well. So it really felt like that classic of like front runner, being a fan of a front runner type of mentality where it's just like everyone's rooting for you to fail outside of like your own country. So I think that element just really added to the overall stakes of it, and just how calm they were. Like the ball movement, like obviously Steph hitting those shots is awesome, but I think some of the little things that they did together to generate those possessions and clean looks for him, even when they sent some doubles at him, like it was just shows how quickly this team really clicked, I think, in such a short amount of time. Like I don't think in their exhibition games they would have been able to do some of the stuff they were doing late game execution to generate those looks, because like, I mean, credit Steph, like I said, but at the same time, like the spacing, the ball movement, the screens, all that was awesome too. So I just think they showed that why they're unbeatable, and even in single elimination games, like anything can happen. But I mean, they stepped up.
Yeah, you could tell today they really did put an emphasis on cutting, ball movement, quick decisions. They didn't want to get bogged down and end possessions like so many of France's opponents have been during this Olympics, where Wemby's just switched out on an island and you're trying to make something happen against him. They wanted to just get good looks as quickly as possible through ball and player movement. Very Steve Kerr kind of emphasis today, and Book got a lot of those cuts, and LeBron had a big cut at one point when Fournier tried to gamble for a double-team steal, and there were a lot of moments where they were able to flash that for sure. Holiday with the drawing the double on the elbow and getting KD open for that above the break three, and the Holiday three that he made, I think it was LeBron assist. It really was kind of that whether, I don't even know if it's fair to call it chemistry, but instincts probably is a better word, and just playing off of each other, learning each other's habits quickly enough to make it work. But yeah, I mean, I think too defensively, right? Like this team was consistently forcing both Serbia and France to just chuck pull-up threes, even in late game situations, because I think that those teams just were like, what else do we do? You know what I mean? And to have a game against Serbia where that, you know, they got super hot from deep, that wasn't really the case against France. It was more that the U.S. was shooting itself in the foot with some turnovers, and France was getting some offensive rebounds and foul luck and things like that. And to kind of have to figure it out in different ways, it did just make it much, much cooler. But you're absolutely right. The small moments, I think, where I mentioned a few of them, but LeBron, the three that he hit when France made its run, and I think they cut it to 9 or 6, and LeBron hit that pull-up three on the left wing. That was a really, really big shot just from a momentum standpoint. Also, the block that KD had on, I believe it was either Yabusele or Lasort, ended up with Wemby getting a layup at the basket and keeping the run going for them. But everybody had to pitch in for this one, even though Steph was the star, I guess. I have one question for you before we get really deep on KD and Book. Are you at the point, given the history between the two teams, but also the fact that this player doesn't have much of that history, does it feel good as a Suns fan for you to beat a Spur like this? Does that matter? Is that factoring in, or are you just enjoying the moment? I'm just curious. I don't feel it, but I wonder if you do.
Absolutely. I'm pre-hating on Wembanyama for what he will become. I'm getting my stock early just because I know the Spurs are going to get right back to that pretty soon. It could happen this year where, like, I mean, they tormented the Suns for so long, and all their international players were just We saw what Manu did to Team USA, and like that Olympic run he had was one of the best all time. So yes, is it premature? But a little bit. But you know what? I'm gonna rub it in. I'm gonna we're the front runners. We got the gold medal. Better luck next time, France. By then, Wemby's gonna be
yeah, they're not gonna need luck at that point.
Yes. So that's, I mean, you gotta take advantage of it while you can. But yeah, I mean, him with the FIBA rules, also with like his ability to like swat the ball off the rim too, just makes it even more.
And
difficult.
the putbacks.
Yeah, I feel like that's
there was the one I'm talking about after KD's block where everybody on Team USA started doing this, and then they all realized like, shit, he can do that. I forgot.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's just so embedded to their brains that it takes. They know the rules obviously, but it's just like it's in their brains. But yeah, I think that's honestly one of France's plays too. Like guard or wing attacks to the lane, just throw it up. It doesn't matter if you make it or not. Wembanyama is gonna like slide in and just tap it in. So that's what makes him tough. And like, but yeah, overall, like you have a Saleh too. Like someone's gonna sign that guy. I mean, he put on a show, and I mean, but enough praise about the French that they lost.
Well, here's the thing I was gonna say. It doesn't really. I'm not factoring in the Vic thing until there's some kind of playoff moment between the two. I personally just love watching Victor Wembanyama play. I don't have an ounce of hate on that yet. But what I will say that'll make me feel better about this one is that one's for Tony Parker. How about that? All right, so there we go. That'll be for him, and Vic can get some in 4 years. Let's talk about Book and KD, what they did to help the team get here, and how that all maybe factors into this upcoming Suns season or just their own personal legacy, frankly. We'll get to it next. First, today's show brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. We all love sports here on the Locked On Podcast Network, but we can also admit this time of year, especially as the Olympics wind down, there's just not quite as much of it. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you got to do is open the app, dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a booster or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. I've been telling you, if you listen to me, you weren't betting the huge like minus 15, minus 20, minus 25 in favor of the U.S. men. They gritted you through it here, but this time of year, futures are the way to go, in my humble opinion. Football, basketball, you could even start doing some like more educated baseball stuff. That is really what this time of summer is for, from a FanDuel standpoint, in my mind. But of course, the D-backs making it worth everybody's while to keep up. Sprinkle a little money. They've been winning more often than not lately, so you double enjoy yourself if you go that way. Check it all out. Football, basketball, and of course baseball. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, Brandon, let's keep it rolling here. So again, 98-87. Team USA gets the gold. 15 points for KD, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. 15 points for Book as well, 13 of those in the first half. I said a couple of the moments that I liked. I did tease Book and KD a little bit before I gave you the chance to do it. But just tell me from a Suns standpoint, what's the moment, the memory, the image that's going to stick with you that your fan brain is gonna hold on to from this? It doesn't have to be from today, but from this run.
I think it will be from today. There's a few moments, but I think just the way they set the tone today, like 10 of the first 12 points were scored by Booker or Durant, or assisted by all 12 were assisted or scored by Booker or Durant. And that just, I feel like just having two stars like starting together in an Olympic game, not only starting, but just closing the game out too. But more specifically, I think setting the tone, because that's exactly what dug them in that hole against Serbia early. It was like, I thought it was very important for them to get off to a good start. Especially in that environment, you can't let the crowd get behind them. So I feel like the way, I mean, obviously France kept it. It's not like they were blowing them out or anything early, but I feel like those two really helped kind of set the tone right off the bat. So that to me was just, it was awesome to see. And just no one's had a better PR run than Devin Booker this Olympic run. Like, I think the narrative about his game from even his haters, like, it's been undeniable. Like, I think that's one really cool thing about this whole Olympic run is like fan bases uniting and like, dropping their beef for a few seconds. Like they'll go back to hating in October, but I think
except Celtics fans and everybody who hates Celtics fans, that continued, which was nice.
Yeah, so whatever. Forget them. They just won the championship. They're fine. Like, forget about what they think. But yeah, I think that's probably my moment, was just like how they set the tone early, and then just continue to do little things. Like Booker got off. He had a great first half, and then second half wasn't as loud offensively, but still just kept doing the little things and avoided getting in further foul trouble. And after it looks like, he's a little frustrated at one point, but yeah, it's just taking a step back. It's really cool to have two stars in the Olympics on your hometown team, and then obviously women's as well. Like they're going tomorrow, right? So that's it's another one.
Yeah, it'll be cool. I think to me, what will stick out for KD, it'll be closing the Serbia game. I mean, not that I mentioned the block, I mentioned the 3 off the Holiday assist. There were moments in this game, but to me, what will stick with me is that. And then I think after the game, him saying, "Go get your effing flag" to everybody was funny. Yes. Just like, he's a pro. He's done this before. He's like, hey, what we do at this point is that we go get our flags because we just beat everybody's what, and we got to celebrate now. And honestly, the moment with his mom in the players' room was cool, but it'll be that Serbia, those shots. With Book, though, I thought it was just it's not like the most impactful point in the game because it was already basically decided, but it was cool from, again, just like a narrative standpoint, or just allowing my little tiny amount of fan brain that sometimes can take over me creep out, is just the fact that he got that layup after Steph's steal, after Steph had gone off, and Book basically got the deciding bucket of the game, the one that really capped it all off on that breakaway. So just that photo, the Suns already tweeted it and everything. That'll just be one of those that'll kind of stick with me for sure. Is just like, hey, he got to be the guy that really ended it. But yeah, big picture to me, the coolest experience of all of this, which I saw you talking about online too, is how many people just were pouring the praise on Devin Booker throughout this run. Like you said, fans of other teams that were just like, damn, I didn't realize he had it like this. And we're all just kind of sitting there like, we've been trying to tell you guys.
Yeah. Then look, I mean, I'm not going to gatekeep. Like, I feel like some Suns fans are like, you just know this now. Like, whatever. If you want to join the bandwagon, feel free. Like, there's plenty of room because he gets a lot of unnecessary hate and criticism about his game. Like, if you've been paying attention, he's been doing this. Maybe not in this exact role, but a lot of stuff, like some of his playoff series have been just otherworldly, and I feel like it doesn't get the same PR as this run did. But if they want to join now, you're very late. But you know what? We'll still open the doors for you. You have to sit in the very back, and you're not going to be getting a comfortable seat. So that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, but I do think one is okay, he did this last Olympics. We all have a nickname for it, Olympic Book, that we've been using since then. But to be fair to everybody, no one watched it. It was a weird time for everybody, and no one watched the finals. No one watched the Olympics. No one was watching anything, and they all happened at 1 a.m. For everybody. So I get it, but at the same time, I will just say, all of us in Phoenix figured he would be the guy to kind of claim this role. It is still pretty impressive that game in, game out, every single night, he continued to rise to the moment, adapt to what the game needed, and be the guy, aside from, we knew, the big 3 legends, Hall of Famers, NBA 75 guys, multi-time champions, all were going to be closing games. KD, LeBron, and Steph. Once we knew KD was going to be healthy, we knew they would have to have a big out there, and it was who's the 5th guy going to be. And so, yeah, we can all be cocky and say we knew it was gonna happen. But this team had Jason Tatum, who we've all laughed at, but coming into this, okay, that's still Jason Tatum. Anthony Edwards, who no one could shut up about for the past 2 months. Drew Holiday, another former gold medalist, ultimate glue guy, started a bunch of these games, and then Derek White, who snubbed his own teammate to come over here, and who a lot of people thought would be just as good of a candidate to be that similar glue guy, and Book, who most people do think of, I mean, even if they shouldn't, they do as this scorer only, pretty boy, whatever guy, and he comes in and outdoes all of those other players in terms of doing what needed to be done to get that 5th spot. Like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Whether we expected it and want to be cocky or not, like, he still deserves he had a lot more competition to do that this year than he did 3 years ago, I guess is my point.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And I think the narrative has shifted very quickly, because even back when I tweeted something about the beginning of this run, like when Kevin Durant's coming back, like who's going to follow the rotation, there was some people that quote tweeted, I don't know, like non-Suns fans that just said it's probably going to be Booker. And I was like, okay, the guy that's I mean, I could see if you said he's going to follow the starting lineup, just because, I mean, the influx of talent and all that, but entirely out of the rotation, like, come on now. So I think
I figured it would be Bam and a wing, and if you thought Book might be the guy to fall, then okay. I didn't, but it was a possibility.
Yeah, but I think the trust that the coaching staff has in him, that's the key right there. Is like, he's been through it with them, and like, I think that's the biggest thing. So I think that's why, like, someone like Tatum, like they're saying, oh, Tatum's not going to play in 2028. Yes, he will. He will, and I think he'll play more of a role then, just because, you know, LeBron and Durant likely not suiting up. I mean, you can't rule it out.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
These guys are superhuman, but I think Tatum will have more of a role. So I think it's really just about gaining that trust and those reps in this environment and adapting your game. And no one did that better than Booker. No one shifted their game better than Booker to be something that it's typically not, and fit in as seamless as it did. So I think you have to give him credit where it's due there. But obviously the stars did their job of being stars too, and that's just as important. So I think it was just really fun to watch that all kind of fuse together.
Yeah, with the whole Tatum debate, I agree with you. It became this whole thing in the media and online, and Tatum really never fueled into it at all. His mom did or whatever, which was like kind of annoying, but Tatum didn't throw a fit at all. He just let it roll off his back, and I'm sure he'll be back. Why would he not be? But in the same way, Book in a summer where Embiid had this weird like sideways shot at LeBron in an interview, and Anthony Edwards is out here saying he's the best player. He'll be the one to be closing, and Jaylen Brown's getting mad at Grant Hill and Nike, and Derek White's like, oops, I guess I'm just like caught in the crossfire of all this. Not only did Book do it, but you never heard a peep. And even the times when he would get interviewed or get some attention for whatever he was doing, he would always give it back, you know, KD's Captain America and all this stuff. And I think that holding himself in that way, carrying himself in that way, is just as cool of a way to kind of represent the fans, the city, the franchise, as like, you know, a big first half like he had tonight. So, okay, let's talk about the future a little bit. What does this mean for KD? Where does this leave Booker, as we assume he'll be participating in 2028 as well? We'll get into all of that legacy talk next. First, today's show brought to you by BetterHelp. When your schedule is packed with activities, work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. For me, the things that I know I need to do to keep myself right, it's going to the gym, spending time with people, getting out of the house. I work from home, so I know I need to like leave and go do things and see people in order to be where I need to be. But one thing I also know is important for a lot of people not to skip is therapy day. And it does not have to be because something incredibly scary is going on in your life or some kind of emergency is going on. It can just be one of those things to keep you right. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. Get started by filling out a survey online. Get matched with somebody in BetterHelp's many licensed therapists, and you can switch at any time for no additional charge to make sure you're getting the right person. Make therapy one of those things. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, let's close it out. I'm going to start off by saying that I think Kevin Durant will participate in the LA Olympics, Brandon.
I like it. It's not as far-fetched as some people think, but I feel like he kind of gets lumped in with LeBron's age, even though there's a little bit of a gap there, right? And like
a lot of a gap, yeah.
Exactly. And I think his ability to shoot over the top of like there's always going to be a role for a stretch four in Viva play, like that, and that's just how it is. So I agree there. I agree with that one.
Yeah, and I just look like in 2028 when they're in LA, which one, that's less of a commitment, right? Because it's not as much travel, it's not as much time away from home, this and that. Also, he'll be the same age then, basically, as LeBron is now. I mean, he'll be a little older, but not in some extreme way. If he's still in the league, I guess I should say, I think he will participate. Because I look at Diana Taurasi, and she's on the women's side, and like, yeah, she's getting 5 minutes some nights, and she was starting, now she's not starting, and all that stuff. But it's not as if she's like there as a charity, right? Like she can contribute, she can knock down shots, she can make the right play. The team is so good that it kind of doesn't matter. Like, you know, we all get it. But, like, also other countries do this. Let's not pretend like it's just Team USA. Nando De Colo's out there, and he didn't play the whole tournament. Now he's out there getting minutes today. They were literally saving him for the gold medal game, basically. You can go country by country. This happens. So I just think he's earned it. He's the all-time leader in all the things that you would be the all-time leader in. He's been committed to this program during pandemics and years when LeBron's too tired and all this other stuff, and he's been there kind of no matter what. So I think he will. My other thought on this is, we'll circle back to KD before we wrap it up, but with Book, to me, he is set up now, especially given how this kind of went for Tatum, to be the next guy who we are talking about in Brisbane in 2032 or wherever. I mean, I doubt he'll be around 12 years from now, but never say never. He'll be 40 by then. As like, oh, and this is Book's 4th Olympics, and he's, you know, the all-time leader in this and that, and he's the vet, and he, you know, is so-and-so player who grew up rooting for, you know, looking up to Devin Booker, just caught a lob from him in the, like, it seems like he's not going to reach that GOAT status probably of these legends that he got to play with in this year's term. But in terms of Team USA, I think he's set up to be one of those guys who we associate with this group really, really strongly. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think being through all these battles and like kind of taking a little bit of backseat, and I think there's going to be more opportunity for him to be a little bit more of like a lead dog or like an alpha, whatever you want to call it, like in terms of just offensive burden. Like I think out of necessity, like I think he's going to have to play more of a role, but at the same time, you have some great young talent around the league that I think will be rising with him. So it'll be kind of like phasing out the old and like a new wave this next term. Like Cooper Flagg is a name to watch. Like I think he will be a part of that team and be like the US's Wemby in terms of I don't think he's as good, but I think the instant impact he's going to have as a young player, because he'll be like he'll have 2 years of NBA experience down at that point. Like, let's see.
Three.
Doing the math. Because he'll be drafted next year.
He'll be drafted next year, and then he'll play 3, and then it'll be the summer after that third season.
Summer after his third year. So by then, I think he'll be polished enough to be a starter. Like that's how good I think he'll be. So on Team USA, which is a little bit of a bold prediction, I feel like, but probably not also at the same time, because he is pretty hyped up. But I think Booker will be starting. I think Edwards will, at that point, should be starting with him. But yeah, it's just I'm more interested in like with the older generations, like who's gonna last, I guess, for these next 4 years. Like, yeah, I want to say there's no way LeBron does, but if there's anyone that does at that age, it's him.
No, I don't think it's happening. You're right, though. I hear you. He would be the last person I would doubt, but 44 years old or 43 going on 44, like he would be, is something else. Like even Tom Brady didn't do that. So, but yeah, look, I mean, I said KD. I think Steph could if he wanted to, right? I mean, I don't necessarily see a reason why if he wanted to participate, he couldn't at least get a roster spot. But I just look at this and like Embiid feels like a one and done to me. I just, you know, if you read between the lines of like what Nick Nurse and like Daryl Morey have been saying this summer, I think it was like, okay, you know, this is special, do your thing, but we don't exactly love it. He'll be 34, 35 by then. You know, I hope that Joel Embiid is still in the league, but this shouldn't be his priority. I think if we're being realistic, he got his goal, he got to contribute, move on. Anthony Davis also will be in his mid-30s. Not saying it won't happen, but we'll see. Drew Holiday will be probably retired by then. Derek White, Tyrese Halliburton, not exactly locks. I would guess Halliburton continues on. He played the World Cup like a good sport, and he did this as the end of the bench guy. But if we agree Tatum and Bam probably hold on, and you mentioned Ant, the only locks are Book, Ant, Tatum, Bam, and Ant. Mm-hmm. That's not a lot. They have a whole roster to fill out. So if you think about it that way, and Book is kind of the last guy left standing, he's already up so high up in the pecking order. Tatum and Bam will have the same level of experience. I believe they both also did a World Cup before Book, so they actually have even more seniority. But Book is kind of above them, in my opinion, in terms of just the guy who's like a lock to start and the vet and the leader of the team and a kind of no-brainer, like guiding light for the program. So I think that he can kind of take it however he wants, and he's set up to really be a mainstay and again be kind of linked to this. But that's where I wanted to end with KD. Mm-hmm. I had somebody put this to me, and it's a little bit trollish, but we'll take it out of the realm of the trolling and actually be real about it. Because there's this whole conversation, right, with KD, like what are we going to associate him with? Like what's the team that we'll think of him as having been with and all that stuff, because he's jumped around a bit. And somebody was like, won't it be Team USA? Won't that be the like legacy defining group that KD had the most special moments with and was like the best surefire, he's the undisputed thing about this team? I think yes, but I don't think anyone's going to remember it that way because we don't watch international basketball here in America. But what do you think of that idea that like this is actually separate from the Hall of Fame and all that, but just like this is the team, Team USA is the team that KD actually like could identify with the most in the minds of fans?
I don't hate it, but it's not realistic because that's just not how, like it's also, I mean, if that did happen, like he'd be the first obviously to ever have that link, I guess, but
Melo, kinda.
Yeah, but I still feel like he's so connected to New York. It's just like he's a Knick, like I don't know. That's I don't hate that question, but I or that answer. I'd have to think about that a little bit. Like that's if he wins a ring with Phoenix, like I think there's a chance that's what he could be remembered as, depending on how long he stays. But that's the end of his career. I think prime Golden State Durant is just kind of like what you're going to think of. Like which
is just funny, right? Because he only spent 3 years there. But I agree with you because they were just so great, and there was so much of a story around it every year that he was there, and him even going there was such a big deal. Him leaving it's just like it dominated sports for that time. But if we cared more about Team USA, I think there would be a real argument there. Yeah,
and I think this Olympic run made Team USA quote unquote cool again. Like it went through that phase where I feel like kind of went out of favor. And I think the fact that these legends got together and like just kind of wanted to show like we are the best, like we need to remind you like that with that attitude. I think that bodes well for future generations. So I think his legacy with Team USA will like that's going to be a talking point for Olympics for the next century. Like I feel like it's for as long as it's human existence. Like when it comes to basketball, like Kevin Durant's etched in history. Like it's gonna be really tough for anyone to win 4 gold medals. Like I mean, it's Devin Booker could be one. I mean, he'll be 31 his next run, and that'd be 3.
Yeah.
So that's I think.
And I mean, his game's gonna age great, right? I mean, why would Book break down? I mean, he's never had a major injury. I mean, we're knocking on all the wood we can, but yeah, it kind of makes me wonder though. Like, I think you saying that they made it cool again is absolutely true, and it'll not only like the fact of the Olympics being here in 4 years, but also like that's cool and whatever. But also it will make it more watchable. People will be tuning in because it'll be in prime time here versus these. Even this like 9 hours is better than like Asia, but it's still not ideal. A lot of these games were in the morning. People will just care about it because it'll just be on TV and there will be more discussion about it. But it makes me wonder the idea of it being cool again and that them being here is like, What about the guys that kind of got passed up? Do they actually, hey Grant, like, how you feeling about? Can we have a conversation? Can we meet for dinner? Like Zion, Ja, those types of guys. Is there a little bit there that or like some of the guys we might have forgotten about because they just weren't good enough to break through this time around? But like Chet, we all thought he would be headed there. You mentioned Cooper. I think it's going to be if these guys all were to hang it up, and maybe I'm wrong about KD, he's just done. It'll be a much younger thing, and that kind of makes it wide open, and it opens up for people who we maybe aren't even thinking of right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Chet is definitely going to be pretty much a lock as long as he stays healthy. Zion, health obviously as well. Ja Morant would be awesome if he. I know there's some turbulence there with his whole like off the court issues, but if he really can get his act together and like if he's healthy as well, just the way he plays, like I feel like from like an international perspective, just watching him put like poor Brazilians or whoever on posters, like that would be very like it'd be like Vince Carter-esque, some of the stuff he'd do. Like, so I'd love to see that. I think that there's so
I'd love to watch like Bogdanovic try to stay in front of Ja.
There's still so much talent that didn't play, and I think I'm excited to see what that team looks like, and it could be its own episode of just talking about what the future looks like in the next Olympic run. But it being here too will make it that much more special. So I think there's so much legacy talk that it's like the Durant situation is a perfect example of like, no, we're not going to think of him as Team USA, but he's done so much that it kind of is like baked in the back of your mind. Like this guy is Mr. USA, like team, like Captain America, whatever you want to call him. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
He's the only American player, I feel like, where his Olympic and international accomplishments will actually matter in the grand scheme of how he's thought of. Like, that's kind of why I brought up Melo. Like, people do that, but then he also had the college title, and Melo just had a weird career. Maybe you would say him. But a lot of the time, it's guys like Manu or Ricky Rubio or fill in the blank with your example, the Gasol brothers, who we kind of put in that category. In this case, it's an American player, and that's really cool. I mean, I hope he's proud of it. I obviously think he is, but maybe this team made Team USA cool again, but KD kept it cool while everyone else was sidestepping it, so there's definitely something to be said for that. Yep. That'll wrap us up. Hit follow, hit subscribe. Nice little bonus episode for you guys. I'll be back tomorrow with my detailed full grade of the Suns offseason. So that'll be up in your feed Sunday night, Monday morning. Enjoy that. Read Brandon and the crew over at Bright Side of the Sun. Enjoy that, and I will talk to you guys next time.